What's up, my guys? What's up, my girls? AKA my dear and beloved Danny Flo. It's good to be with you again on the Danny Flo vodcast. I'm your boy Danny Flo. If this is your first time watching/listening, I'd like to be your favorite vodcast teacher. What do I teach? Great question. I teach you things, a pronunciation that I stole from my lovely wife. Shout out to you, baby. So I basically teach you by giving you, my guys and my girls, my thoughts, my philosophy, what I think is wise about philosophy, about fitness, about family, particularly fatherhood, because I'm a father, also a husband, right? I'm a husband, and I already shouted out my wife, and faith, which is that we should all be Catholic. And of course, these are very specific things, and so I'm aware that I'm hella weird, but hopefully you like it. So in this episode, I'm gonna keep talking about whether an older girl should date a younger guy. I started talking about dating about 6 weeks ago. You're welcome to go back and watch those episodes. Some of them are on a playlist for your convenience, but on episode 24, yes, episode 24, I talked about the kind of guy a girl should date. On 25, I talked about should an older girl date a younger guy, and that was kind of an introduction. Then the first thing I think I talked about was so then episode 27 was on following the laws and ethical principles. Then the episode 27 was about the younger guy's parents. The last episode was about if the older girl has kids, right? So in this episode, I'm kind of going to give you advice from the brother that you never had, or if you've had a brother but you don't want to listen to him, maybe you can listen to someone else, and maybe the advice will overlap. But before that, my guys and my girls, do something cool for your boy and hit the bell so that YouTube notifies you when I upload a brand new episode for you, my guys and my girls. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you like the video, at the end of the video, go ahead and like it. And if you want to do something hella cool for your boy, share it with at least one person, maybe your bestie. If you feel like doing something cooler than that, maybe your nextie bestie. So let's get into it. So I'm basically going to talk about the kind of guys that you should avoid, right? Let me get serious. So we all have a philosophy of dating when we're single and we're dating, right? Philosophy, the classical traditional definition, is the love of wisdom, right? So when we say I have a philosophy on this, I have a philosophy on that, what we're saying is I think this is the wise way to do this. I think this is the wise way to go about it. So we all think that there's a wise way to date. There's a wise way to do relationships. There's a wise way to enter into a relationship. There's a particular goal, a particular end, something that we're moving towards, right? So these episodes have been about dating leading to marriage. So that's a particular philosophy of dating. The purpose, the meaning, what dating should be about is it should lead to engagement, then marriage. Once you're married, you have kids, and the guy does his best to be a good husband and father. The girl does her best to be a good mother and wife, right? So these episodes are for guys and girls that have that philosophy of dating. If you don't have that philosophy of dating, unfortunately, I'm not going to appeal to you. But if you do have the philosophy of dating, then we have to go about it in a wise way, and that's what these episodes are about. So there's certain things that we want to do, certain actions that we want to take, certain actions that we don't want to take, certain things that we want to avoid. So this episode is kind of about what should we avoid, right? So of course, if you go back to the first episode 25, which you're welcome to watch, and of course share it with at least one person that you know, I talked about, like, I think that we're gonna start seeing older girls date younger guys with the purpose of getting marriage. And why do I think that? Well, I think as girls get older, and maybe they accomplish things in their life that they wanted to accomplish, maybe they didn't, but at some point, just biologically speaking, women only have a certain amount of time to be mothers, right? And for some reason, unbeknownst to me, it actually starts at a really young age. Sometimes it's as young as 13. When a woman goes through puberty, her body starts being able to be a mother, which means like producing eggs, right? So from about 13, somewhere in the 40s, I don't know the exact age, so it's about 30 years now. It's unprudent, right? It's unwise, if you will, to become a mother at age 13. And maybe that's just in the context of the contemporary world, the context of the modern world, because we know from history, or history suggests that before the modern world, the death rate was a lot higher, right? People didn't live to the 60s, 70s, 80s like they do today. So because we have that benefit, that privilege, for lack of better terminology, we can kind of wait later in life. So because that is not a possibility to live later, we're like, okay, maybe having a kid at 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, anywhere in the teens, maybe it's unwise, maybe it's unprudent. Let's wait till we're in the 20s and the 30s, and sometimes in the 40s. But so a girl in like her 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, if she hasn't had children, if she hasn't gotten married, maybe she's been focusing on other things, school, career, other traveling, other goals, things like that. Maybe just the relationships haven't been healthy, just for lack of better terminology and speaking in generalizations. She hasn't got married, she hasn't had kids. Maybe she's like, all right, now it's time to put my effort into actually doing that. So ideally, yeah, she would find a guy her age, but it's possible to find someone younger. It is also possible to find someone older, but I mean, I think if we're being like honest, ideally a woman would want someone her age or younger, because they would want someone fit both physically and mentally to raise children. So an older guy would hopefully be wiser, because with age sometimes wisdom comes along, but maybe not physically, right? And herself, she's already in her maybe mid-30s, maybe mid-30s, depending on how many kids she wants to have within about a decade. She just wants someone that would be able to help her, like, meet the physical demands of being a parent, right? Less sleep, more activity, trying to keep up with someone who is brand new to the life game. So yeah, those are things to consider. So if a girl, it doesn't matter what your age is, right? As kind of like your brother, just in humanity, right? But hope, like, maybe you're Catholic like your boy, so just like your brother in the faith, or maybe you're a non-Catholic Christian, just like your brother in Christ. I'm coming at you with some guys that you should avoid if your goal is to get engaged, get married, and start a family, right? So, okay, just definitely the first guy that you should avoid, and all of these guys you should avoid because you don't have the same philosophy of dating as them, right? And just think about this particular moment in time, the philosophy of dating that you have. Like, I didn't convince you of it. Maybe someone else didn't convince you of it either. You convinced yourself of it, right? It's very hard to convince people. It's a skill. Most of the time we convince ourselves and unconvince ourselves of certain positions, not petitions. I don't know what petitions are, neither do you. Certain positions, right? So if your philosophy of dating is dating should be to discern marriage, to figure out if we should get married or not, we're either going to break up or we're going to get engaged, get married, start a family, right? So that limits your dating pool, right? You have to discriminate against anyone that doesn't have that philosophy of dating, right? So you definitely don't want to mess around with a guy who's just looking for a one-night stand. Why? Because a one-night stand isn't going to lead to a relationship where you're trying to figure out if you should get engaged, and then once you're engaged and go through that process of planning a wedding, of doing other things, then you get married. Once you get married, you start a family. That's just not good. You can't, you can't take the risk or bet on, maybe I have a one night stand with this guy and the one night stand will be so phenomenal that he'll just stick around. Most likely this guy is just, excuse me for being crass, but he's just looking to use you to achieve orgasm through the sexual activity that he wants to perform with you, right? To do with you. He's not looking for a relationship, right? He's looking for, as they say, quote, one and done, right? That you should avoid that guy. The second guy that you should avoid is the guy that not only wants a one night stand, but he wants to be a friends with benefits. He wants to be a sex buddy, right? To put it more chaste than what they normally say. They normally say an F buddy, right? So why do you want to date that? It's the same thing. He just wants a supply of sexual activity with you. Instead of just wanting it one time, he wants it as many times as you're willing to do it. And it's better for him if you also agree if he can do that with other people. That way, when you're not available, he can do it with other girls. Or when you're tired of supplying him with the sex, or he gets tired of you. Because so most of these guys, right, that are promiscuous guys, that are just looking for friends with benefits, right, that are just looking for sex buddies, right, their philosophy of dating is that dating is like dumb, right? That you shouldn't date. You should just use each other for use each other consensually for sex, right? And normally, right, you as a person are kind of irrelevant. Like, maybe it's a bonus to him if you have a cute personality, maybe it's a bonus to him if you're intellectual, but most of the time he doesn't even care about your looks. He cares about your body, right? Cares about your measurements in certain areas, if you catch my drift. He's not looking to date you, to get to know you, to eventually figure out if he wants to be in a relationship with you, engage you, and marry. Definitely want to avoid that guy. So the one night stand, the sex buddy. The next one is you want to avoid the casual dater, right? You want to avoid the guy that is in a relationship, because so normally, right, maybe this guy does want companionship, but he doesn't want the hard commitment of marriage, right? Because that's a commitment, and if it doesn't work out, it's messy. So marriage in itself is already messy, right? It's messy, but it's worth it, and eventually I'll get into that. Not in this episode, in a future episode. I'm always promising you future episodes. That's one thing that you can definitely guarantee with me, is I'll just continually promise you future episodes. But he's a casual dater. He just wants to date forever, right? Or until maybe things get hard, or maybe until another girl comes around with a cuter personality, with a cuter face, with a better body. Maybe all three, right? Maybe the end for him is to, yeah, maybe we can move in together, right? But that's where it's going to end, right? We're not going to get engaged. We're not going to get married. We're probably never going to have kids. I don't really want dogs either, but, maybe if you keep pressing me on the engagement and marriage and kids thing, maybe then we can have a couple dogs, and that should kind of satisfy you. So if you notice these three guys, it's not long term, it's short term. It's until you stop giving them what it is that they are looking for. Your concerns don't really matter, right? And I think that's mainly it, right? Because the one night stand, his philosophy of dating is dumb. I'm just looking for a new experience, right? The same thing with the friends with benefits. He wants to experience it as many times as he can with you. As soon as he gets tired or bored of that, as soon as he's done everything that he can imagine, he's going to move on. And then the same thing with the casual dater. But with the casual dater is he wants to experience the sexual activity as well, but he also wants to play house with you as long as he can tolerate it, and then he will move on to someone else. This isn't so. With someone who has the same philosophy of dating as you, that their goal is to get engaged, to get married, and to start a family, it might not work out with them, but at least it didn't work out because of the philosophy of dating. That they, for some reason, right, they discerned that you aren't that person, but the next person that they date, they're going to they're still going to have the same philosophy of dating. They're still going to be looking for a potential spouse, a future spouse, right? So it's a more complicated reason than I just wanted the sex a bunch of times. I just wanted the sex a bunch of times, and I wanted the companionship and the things that are supposed to come with marriage, but only as long as it wasn't hard, and then I can just restart with someone else and kind of get the new-ish relationship benefits, right? So if it doesn't work out with a person that you have the same philosophy of dating, it wasn't because you didn't have the philosophy of dating. It was like a more complicated, more profound reason. Maybe you had financial differences, maybe you had religious differences, maybe you had a different philosophy on how to raise kids, maybe you had a difference in how important family should be, how close we should live with them. So when you have the same philosophy of dating as someone, right, the things that you worry about are more than just like the basic things of like, how much sex are you going to supply me with, and how difficult are you going to make like my life, like are you still going to allow me to do what I want to do. Like when you have the same philosophy of dating as someone, the other person is concerned about you. You know what I mean? When you don't have the same philosophy of dating as someone, they're primarily concerned about themselves. So I hope that helps you out, my guys, but especially my girls. That's my advice from the brother that you either never had or you had, but maybe you didn't want to listen to him. So sometimes we tell you things because we love you, right? And maybe we don't know how to express them correctly in the right tone or whatever. I mean, my personal opinion is like tone should be like a secondary thing. Like, am I telling the truth or not, right? Maybe that didn't make any sense, but those are definitely the guys that you should avoid. Cool. Thanks for watching, my guys and my girls. Let me know what you think about that advice. Is it helpful? Is it not helpful? What is your philosophy of dating? How did you come to that philosophy? I'm willing to bet that you mostly convinced yourself. It's really hard to convince someone So when I say especially in this day and age where most things are subjective, right? We think that everything is subjective. The only other thing that I want to say is, so everyone kind of wants to be different, right? Everyone kind of wants to be unique. No one wants to be mainstream. Nobody wants to be the same thing as everyone else. So, you know, we kind of are hard on marriage, as in like marriage doesn't work out, marriage is lame, marriage is not cool, marriage is hard, marriage is overcomplicates things, right? And we kind of say, you know, marriage is an old thing that people used to do, but now we don't do that. But here's the thing: if the new thing is not to get married, then, and everyone is doing it, then actually getting married and having kids, it's actually the new different thing, right? Before, when everyone was getting married, being single and doing your own thing and maybe casually dating, maybe being promiscuous, that was the otherly thing, right? That was like the non-mainstream thing. But now in our contemporary culture, when we think that marriage is like this super bad thing and that we shouldn't do it, and so nobody's getting married, so now it's reverse, right? Isn't that crazy? So like now actually, if you don't want to be mainstream, you get married and have kids, right? Which, that's the camp that your boy is in, right? That's the only other thing that I wanted to say. So thanks for putting up with me. Share your thoughts, my guys and my girls. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and let me know in the comments why you subscribe, so I can keep doing that thing that made you subscribe, right? And like I said, share my video with at least one other person so you can help me grow my channel. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, because I also released this video podcast, aka vodcast, as an audio podcast. So if you listen on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and leave me a review. Go ahead and subscribe on there. Also share it with your bestie or next to your bestie. If you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and follow and share it also with your next to bestie and your fam bam. If you have an Instagram, follow me at Dani_flow, DANI_FLO. If you want to do something really cool for your boy, either share my YouTube video or my podcast on your story so you can help me grow my channel and my listenership. If you have a topic in mind, go ahead and drop it in the comments. I also started a discussion on my channel to see what kind of topics you guys would like me to discuss. Cool. Thanks for putting up with me, my guys and my girls. As always, remember what Venerable Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen taught us: your life is worth living. Love you, my guys and my girls. Bye.